Russian hat. Now, there's one other thing that I share with this particular hero of mine, and that is the love of guns from a very early age. In my case, I'm glad to say it's worn off. But in Przewalski's case, he was the great explorer of Central Asia, it never wore off. Well, Bertie, obviously I can't take these in any way. Very sadly there. But I really must not forget this. Przewalski, Mongolia 1 and 2. And look at that. I'll bet you think that's Stalin. Well, no. Some people say that's Stalin's father. But we'll find out. I was born in the wrong century. That's what my friends tell me, and I'm afraid they're right. I should have lived in the 19th century, when most of the world still had to be discovered. I should have been one of those brave men who left the safety and warmth of their homes to explore the blank areas on the globe, those places where no white man had ever set foot. Without those men, the world would not be as it is today. This is it. This is the scenery my hero saw from his tent in the morning when he woke up. Sometimes my heroes carry names I can hardly pronounce. Let me try it for you. Nikolai, Michailovitsj, Przewalski. He was Russian, so you're supposed to say Przewalski. And here he is. We're talking about the second part of the 19th century. The Russians and the British were fighting their so-called Great Game, a kind of Cold War. Both countries wanted to obtain influence in this unknown part of Central Asia. That's why Przewalski was here, an explorer paid by the Russian Ministry of War. 5 times he left Russia in order to reach Lhasa, the capital of Tibet. 5 times he failed. But what a fascinating man he was. A tough man, also. In the freezing cold and the unbearable heat, he just kept going on. Listen to this. Przewalski in Mongolia. Our poor beasts were dying of starvation, and one of the horses was frozen to death at night. The sick camel expired 2 days afterwards and lay directly in front of the entrance of our tent, completing the picture of our misery. We were now left with only one horse, which could hardly move its legs. I love Przewalski. He succeeded then and now in dividing the world into people who adore him and people who hate him. Like the man who lives here, for instance, Donald Rayfield, his biographer.
Well, Donald, welcome. How do you do?
Wonderful.
Right, good to see you.
So what kind of a man was he?
Well, he was single-minded. He was frightened of nothing and of nobody. He was absolutely ruthless without pity, I would say.
Oh.
And he could be cruel to the point of sadism and vindictive.
The better Rayfield came to know Przewalski, the more he started to dislike him. When he was halfway through his biography, he realized he couldn't wait to let his main character die. Still, let's try one more question about the impression my hero made on other people. But what would a Chinese villager have thought seeing Przewalski appearing with his...
Yes, it's hard to imagine. Here's a Chinese or Mongolian or Tibetan who may not have seen a European before, just knew them as foreign devils, or expect them to come with a Bible and some boring talk about Jesus. And what do you get? You get this giant with a whole lot of Cossacks on horseback, and he has enough armaments and munitions to equip a whole army, modern rifles, the sort of which they had matchlocks and flintlock guns, and here was a man with the latest carbines, the latest revolvers coming towards them. It was Operation Shock and Awe in American terms.
Yes.
They were totally horrified.
And why? And he was obsessed with getting to Lhasa, getting to Tibet. Why?
Well, I suppose simply because it was considered impossible. And if Przewalski ever heard the word no, then he would persist. And he persisted and persisted. And of course, the other reason is that it was regarded as the center, the spiritual center of the Buddhist world, and it was important for Russia to be there before the British got there. And I think that may be one of his chief motives.
So, what have we got? He's a sadomasochistic homosexual, he's brutal, he has thoughts of genocide in his head. Well, yes, but you don't need to be a sweetheart to be a great explorer. For that you need courage, endurance, and scientific knowledge. And he had all of those in abundance. And besides, what do they think of him here in Russia? Well, in Russia, he's a hero.
And if you're considered a hero in Russia, you'll have to have your own statue.
Przewalский очень известный путешественник. Вот есть улица Przewalskiego, она находится тут недалеко. Он путешествовал в Азии на верблюдах, там открывал новые места. И он действительно очень похож, есть такая версия, но это больше, наверное, юмор, что Сталин был его сыном. Но это юмор, конечно, нет, но они немного похожи, есть такое.
Is this Stalin?
No, it's
No?
not a Stalin.
It's not Stalin.
But it's funny, it's look like a Stalin.
Does look like Stalin. But who is it then?
This is a Przewalski,
Uh-huh.
but he's look like a Stalin. But for
Yeah.
me, mustache not so.
Yeah. Well, thank you very, very much.
Welcome, welcome. Yeah. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Have a nice
Bye
day.
bye. Well, this is the Geographical Museum, supported by Putin, and inside I hope we're going to find some letters and Przewalski's maps, but much more importantly for me, we are going to see, I hope, a Lancaster rifle. Now, I've always wanted to hold Przewalski's magnificent Lancaster. There were only two models of this beautiful rifle in Russia at the time. One owned by the Tsar and one owned by Przewalski, made specially for him. Big man. Ah. Reverend Hanlon. Ah, you're concentrating. Wonderful to meet you.
Maria Fedorovna guards everything that's left from Przewalski.
Oh, some gloves.
His letters, his pictures, and most of his personal belongings.
Да, мне он очень понравился бы, наверное, сразу, поскольку это была личность незаурядная. Он сразу как-то умел понравиться людям. Но уже с раннего детства проявился его характер. Он был лидером, он был целеустремленным и в то же время был человеком таким азартным.
Before we look at the maps and the letters, may I hold the Lancaster?
Пожалуйста. Да, но сейчас вот мы его принесли из реставрации, в общем-то. Вот здесь одну уберем. Вот Przewalski, вот мой кошек такой. Ой, тихо.
Got it.
Да. Да.
It's all so classy.
Да.
Now, can we take that one out? Massive. That is massive bullet. That is a real Superman's stuff, and that's why
Сейчас ружье выстрелит, да.
this is so very heavy. My God, it would go in. I'm not going to push it in case it jams. But that would give you the most terrible bruise on your shoulder. And so heavy, you'd have to bring it up as one does with a rifle. You get the foresight and the backside, get it all set level, and you'd have to bring it up and then through the target, fire as the target came into view. You couldn't stand there with this and hold something this heavy level. And this barrel has to be massively heavy because it's taking such pressure from this huge bullet, expanding in the heat and moving down the barrel at tremendous speed. So that's what it means, a patent smooth bore, breech loading rifle, Lancaster. Well, boys' toys. So I got what I wanted. I held my hero's gun. What else? Well, there should be letters in which he writes frankly about how he enjoyed spending the night with 3 of his assistants in one sleeping bag. But I don't expect Maria to show those to us.
Дневники первого путешествия Николая Михайловича Przewalskiego. Да.
To his young men, the people that he trained them, but he was always worried that they might get married, this terrible thing, because that would mean that they were no longer available to travel with him.
Также его товарищ еще по Варшавскому училищу и спутник 2 путешествий Клон женился и тоже больше не участвовал в экспедиции. Поэтому, когда Пыльцов решил жениться, он тоже вот ему пишет: не женись, не женись.
Yeah, don't marry. Here, don't marry. The thing that stuck in my mind is that before he could start writing his diary, he had to melt the ink. In the high mountains, he had to heat up his ink over a fire. Think how cold that was. How is he going to write? In big gloves? It's an extraordinary achievement. So why do you like him so much?
Мне нравится, потому что он талантливый человек.
Would you like to be his wife?
Не знаю, возможно.
I don't know, maybe.
Maybe.
Ну,
Now look, I think that if Przewalski liked women, you would be his first choice.
Я бы вашей тоже хотела стать.
What?
Вашей бы хотела стать.
She would like to be your wife.
Oh, really? Oh, wonderful. That's even better. Fantastic.
Продеза.
Yes. Lovely. I was warned beforehand about this striking Russian woman, who now suddenly wants to marry me. She adores Przewalski, I was told. So don't you dare to bring up any question suggesting that the great Russian explorer might have been gay. Right. Well, here we go. So do you think the rumours were true that he was homosexual?
Мне не хочется это обсуждать. Я не верю. Мне не хочется это обсуждать.
Maybe I should phrase a more subtle question. No. But in this country, could you be a great hero and a homosexual?
Возможно.
Of course.
Ah, well, great.
Надеюсь, вы нет.
While during Przewalski's days, homosexuality was quite common and accepted, today it seems to be a silly taboo for the Russians. The logic is simple. Homosexuals can't be heroes, so Russian heroes can't be homosexual. But enough about people. Let's focus on animals. Thanks to his British-made Lancaster rifle, Przewalski killed thousands of animals. He transported them all to St. Petersburg, to the Zoological Museum here on the edge of the Neva River.
Well, maybe there's something wrong with me. Well, there's a lot wrong with me, but I love these places. This great zoological museum here, built like a palace, quite right too, a palace to scientific knowledge. And the great excitement is, in this building are held the type specimens, the holotypes, which means the very first individual of an entirely new species that arrived here, first time it was seen by scientists, the first time it was described, and they should be lying in here. And if we're lucky, the ex-director of the entire museum, what better guide could you have? Potapov should be waiting here to show us these skins, all collected by our great hero, Przewalski. Professor Potapov. Oh, thank you.
Professor Potapov was recommended to us as the great Przewalski expert. He is elated with all the attention. And to avoid the risk of disappointing his guests, he treats us to the full exhibition. A 2-hour tour through all the halls of this gigantic museum.
The famous demon, who was now, it is male, found, it is 14 months old. You see a little trunk here.
It takes a while for Professor Potapov to find the crown jewel of the collection, Przewalski's horse. It's named after him, although Przewalski was given the skin and the skull somewhere as a present. Only later, in St. Petersburg, did they find out it was a rare example of a till then unknown wild horse.
The first famous obtaining of the Przewalski horse.
Wow. It's not, I don't suppose it's possible for me just to touch Przewalski's horse, is it?
Они хотят потрогать.
Да, я понял.
И снять, конечно, но сразу же. Ага.
Well, this is Przewalski's horse. In 1881 it was described and named after him. I mean, you can't name a species after yourself ever. Very, very wild horse. Now, I just want to pat its neck. But actually, if it was alive, I certainly wouldn't be able to do that. You get kicked to pieces. Przewalski's horses hold the record for killing keepers in zoos. They are far more dangerous than tigers. And I like that because it really is a bit like Przewalski himself.
I share a common passion with the professor and with Przewalski, birds. On his trips to Tibet, Przewalski shot thousands of birds, which the common visitor is not allowed to see.
23-й, шкаф 299-3, 23-й ряд 299-3.
But since we're both Przewalski admirers, the professor decides to take me down into his secret cellars.
233.
There, somewhere in one of the drawers, is the one bird that Przewalski shot with regret because he thought it was too beautiful to die.
Here. Just a moment, I'll take key.
I'll bring the steps. Ah, wrong ones.
Yes.
You got it?
Yes.
So beautiful. Even now, even as a specimen, it glows. What it must be like in the wild.
Yes, this specimen was obtained by Nikolai Przewalski in northern Tibet, near Jagar Mountain in the June of 1880.
Wow.
Please.
What a ravishingly beautiful creature. And Przewalski shot them as he shot everything. Birds, elk, bears, sheep, antelope, camels. They had no chance against the man with the Lancaster rifle and the Purdy shotguns. In St. Petersburg, the employees of the Zoological Museum worked overtime to prepare all the skins he sent home. What a real man he was.
Well, we're off to Moscow on one of the world's most romantic trains. You expect to see Anna Karenina alighting from one of these red 19th century carriages, or for that matter, Przewalski on his own triumphant return to St. Petersburg.
At my request, Professor Potapov is joining us. He can't stop talking about Przewalski. He admires the man. I call to mind my conversation in England with biographer Rayfield, who so obviously loathed Przewalski.
He has always been a Russian hero. That was the extraordinary thing. He was a Russian hero before the revolution and after the revolution. Even though he was a fighter for Imperial Russia, he shared quite a few things with, say, Jozef Stalin. His dislike of the British, extreme dislike of the British, who were conquering India and Burma at the same time, and his utter ruthlessness. So when the Soviets republished his books, they did so quite cheerfully, which is unusual for republishing a 19th century geographer, but they had to leave certain things out that were just too shocking for the Soviet image.
About the Chinese and about the...
Well, particularly in his last journey, when he'd completed his 4th visit to Mongolia and northern Tibet, he wrote a chapter of recommendations to the Russian Ministry of Defense that they should exterminate the population of Mongolia and of Tibet and settle Cossacks in both territories.
Execute the lot?
Yes, whatever way, starve them to death, shoot them, drive them out into China. But he said they are laggards in the evolutionary process and they should be replaced by more modern specimens of human beings, namely Russian Cossacks.
Here you can penetrate anywhere, only not with the Gospels under your arm, but with money in your pocket, a carbine in one hand, and a whip in the other. Europeans must use these to come here and bear away in the name of civilization all these dregs of the human race. 1,000 of our soldiers would be enough to subdue all of Asia, from Lake Baikal to the Himalayas. Here we can still repeat the exploits of Cortes. For our military conquests in Asia bring not only glory to Russia, they are also victories for the good of mankind. So now, here in Moscow, I'll check in at the Leningradskaya Hotel, built by Jozef Stalin as the Russian answer to the skyscrapers of New York. Here I'll have to wait for my next appointment. The man I want to meet is very difficult to approach, so I don't know if we will succeed in persuading him to receive us. For the time being, for me, that means waiting. Maybe I was too optimistic with my waiting. No, our guest doesn't want to see us today. Nor tomorrow. Or the day after. But then, finally, yes, we're invited for a morning meeting.
This is the Central Academy Theatre of the Russian Army, and its director today is the grandson of a man who murdered 35 million Russians.
So why are we going to meet Stalin's grandson? Because rumors spread in the 1930s that Stalin was the son of Przewalski. And it wasn't just hidden rumor, it was right out in the open. It was in all the papers, it was used in propaganda. Obviously, Stalin liked the idea himself.
А той чайки нет, что ли?
Мне сказали, что вы знаете, ее не будет.
Ну тогда так ее не неси.
А ее как не возьми, Александр Васильевич.
Нет, как ты носил вот тут, так ее держи примерно. Ага. И голову держи, тогда будет
Я понимаю, да.
ощущение, что вроде она живая.
Хорошо, ладно, потом просто это.
Вот так вот ее держи. Вот так держи как-нибудь, да? Как будто голову поддерживаешь. И тогда, да, и тогда и принесешь сюда.
Александр Васильевич, вот этот вот слух о том, что Przewalski отец Сталина, вашего дедушки, откуда он появился, по вашему мнению? Откуда это произошло?
Я вам скажу. Przewalski имел нос с горбинкой, имел вот такие же усы, был черного цвета, и на очень многих фотографиях он напоминает, просто чисто визуально так напоминает Сталина. И больше за этим нет ровным счетом ничего.
Но вы думаете, что Сталину это был слух, как бы ему этот слух нравился?
Абсолютно безразличен, убежден, абсолютно был безразличен.
Вам в вашей жизни как-то что-то вот принесло хорошего, тот факт, что вы внук Сталина?
Сталин не был человеком, с которым можно было быть в контакте, в таком, очень таком близком контакте. И отец его очень боялся. Хотя и грешил много, и при этом все-таки его боялся. И он был для него, конечно, очень большим авторитетом, но Сталин любил Светлану, сестру, тетку мою, да? И он любил. Но и то это не значит, что он как бы, как сказать, квахтал вокруг нее, понимаете? Нет, этого не было. Этого никогда не было. Он был занят строительством, отнюдь не репрессиями, как ты говоришь. Такое ощущение, что он сидел в Кремле и только думал, кого пухнуть, понимаете? Ну, это тоже чепуха, конечно. Он строил свое царство. Вот, строил свое царство невероятно. И он, конечно, этим был занят с утра до ночи. Дети, отец ли, Светлана ли, так большой роли в его жизни никогда не играли. Нет.
So here I am, sitting in this dark theatre next to the grandson of Stalin. Only one handshake away from the dictator, you could say. What a disturbed childhood this soft-spoken man must have had. In order to leave history behind, he changed his name to Berdonsky, but everybody knows he is Stalin's grandson. On top of that, some are still convinced he is also the great-grandson of Przewalski.
Потом еще такую вещь я должен сказать, что это тоже не тайна, что Przewalski вообще все свое время проводил главным образом в экспедициях. И он любил мужчин и мужскую компанию, а отнюдь не был ходоком по женщинам. Так что c'est-la-vie.
А вы можете сказать, вот почему как бы в России, вот мы разговаривали с многими людьми, которые там читали, ну, которые знали, изучали Przewalskiego, почему для всех так вот тяжело вот тот факт, что, может быть, да, вот он любил мужчин, может быть, гомосексуалистов?
От нечего делать. Понимаете? Какая разница? Альковные тайны вообще не должны никого никогда волновать. Ну, я так тоже думаю. Какая мне разница? Кого любил Чайковский, когда он был гений? Ну, какая мне разница? Он одаривал вас же не своим сексом или своим грязным бельем. Он одаривал вас своим гением, своим талантом. А что он делал у себя дома, в койке? Кому какое дело? Нет разницы.
Впечатление, что в России очень трудно быть и героем, и гомосексуалистом одновременно.
Всем быть трудно в России. И таланту трудно в России всегда. В России лучше всего быть Иванушкой-дурачком. Но не все же Иванушки-дурачки.
I have to admit that I'm a bit disappointed that Stalin's grandson is not related to Przewalski, but all the same. Here in this theatre he's rehearsing his Chekhov, and right behind me is a box built for Stalin. This whole theatre was built during his time, and he never showed up, but we're still not allowed to look in it even, because it's still reserved for high officials, probably for Putin. Get the feeling not much has changed. What's hidden behind that red curtain? I'm really getting curious. Fortunately, I find someone willing to give it another try.
Открой, пожалуйста, потому что мы сейчас входим в фойе ложи дирекции, сейчас пойдем, и там вы прошли рядышком, быстро сняли, ладно? А потом ты закроешь. Все, отлично, спасибо. Спасибо.
But when we're halfway up, it seems as if somewhere in the building alarm bells started ringing. Suddenly, a plainclothes policeman shows up asking for official permissions, and we're supposed to wait. But then, much to my surprise, my hostess gets fed up with all the pomposity. She decides on a quick act of civil disobedience.
Ну все, как бы продолжаем. Let's go. Without. The president, the prime minister, and other they sit
there. And why is
and
it
go in the this and
secret
this.
way? I mean, it's
No.
no, not secret, but it's different.
Let's go.
I feel a bit awkward. What a silly mystery play this is. You can still smell the Cold War here everywhere. And then, what's the use of a military theatre anyway?
Well, this ramp was made so that tanks could roll onto the stage. Imagine it, you'd see the end of the barrel first. T-31.
It's a bit much for one day. Let's try and summarize what we have so far. Przewalski's biographer in England wanted him dead as soon as possible. His famous horse is as aggressive as the explorer himself, and the keeper of his heritage in St. Petersburg would have loved to marry both him and me. And she tells me bluntly she hopes I'm not gay.
Я бы ваши тоже хотела.
Then Przewalski was not Stalin's father, at least according to Stalin's grandson, who is the first Russian we meet who doesn't talk about homosexuals as people from outer space. But the grandson of Stalin is obviously gay himself.
C'est la vie.
And on top of that, a director in the Military Academy Theatre of Moscow, built by grandfather Stalin, who never showed up there himself.
We're still not allowed to look in it even.
Although everybody behaves around his theatre box with awe and respect,
Without.
as if the dictator could arrive at any moment.
In honor of the Red Army.
What a crazy country this is. But I have to admit, I love it. I love every incomprehensible minute here. Back to Przewalski, and to the only place in Russia where he felt at ease, his house in the village of Sloboda near Smolensk. It's a bumpy 6 hours by car. Professor Potapov promised to keep us awake with sad songs of love, death, and travel.
Redmond. Well, we're here because Przewalski was here. This is the Russia that he loved, and I mean really loved. He grew up here and he built himself a house here, and what he liked doing best in life was hunting. His whole life, in fact, was an extension of his boyhood, loose, playing in the woods, enjoying himself, hunting, shooting, as the English would say. And, well, it's amusing that here he found life so exciting he couldn't possibly write. He had to go to St. Petersburg, which was so horrible and confining and boring. And there he could write because he felt there was nothing else to do in the middle of this great city humming with life. For him, for Przewalski, this is where life was. This was humming with life.
The idea is simple. We just wait here in silence, while from the other side of the wood, the beaters scare the animals in our direction. Then we only have to shoot them. It's easy. There's no sign of wild boar. It's 10 degrees below zero, which is cold if you're not allowed to move or to talk. After 3 hours of shivering, I suddenly get it.
Great hero.
Here, the fun of hunting has nothing to do with shooting animals, of course. And then it's not hard to understand why Przewalski loved this hunting so much.
Он не любил начальство, и почему он все время путешествовал, одно из объяснений того, что там не было начальников. И он как бы вот был предоставлен сам себе, и вместе со своим отрядом, ну, выбирал путь, маршрут, все. Ну, И он очень не любил долго задерживаться где бы то ни было. То есть светскую жизнь практически не вел, семьи у него не было, любимой женщины не было, солдатами и в походах. То есть Средняя Азия, это вот было его любимое как бы место. И здесь он был только как отдыхал между походами. То есть...
Вот там полная, да. Ты скажи там, что с орехами.
И хотел бы сказать, что самое главное, за что Przewalski прожил свою жизнь, это действительно свобода. И он своим примером показал, что можно жить свободно, даже в несвободной стране. В жутком царизме, но он жил свободным, как птица.
Подожди, а мы
Вот.
где живем?
Ты еще не осознал. Я и хотел бы за этот идеал и этого человека выпить.
Где ты живешь? В Европе, я.
Все будет?
Да.
Вышел ряд.
Не хочешь?
Well, this is the village of Sloboda, which means freedom. At least it was until the inhabitants discovered that a great explorer had lived amongst them. And now it's been renamed, well, in 1964, it was renamed Przewalski.
As soon as the villagers of Sloboda realized they once had a hero living amongst them, they started renovating Przewalski's house. It's still work in progress, but one day they hope that tourists will pour into Przewalski's village. There's one thing missing, though. There's no bar yet to flush away the strong aftertaste of the hunter's vodka.
Well, there was constant anxiety about water most of the time on Przewalski's travels in the Far East. And listen to this, look, in some places the precious fluid was not more than 3 feet below the surface. In most of the roadside wells it was generally very bad. And, to make it worse, the Dungans often threw into them the bodies of dead Mongols. I cannot help shuddering now, when I remember how one day, after having drunk tea, we proceeded to give some drink to the camels and discovered the putrid carcass of a man lying at the bottom of the well from which we had drawn water for our own use.
Oh, more! More!
The professor told me that on all his travels everywhere, Przewalski dreamed of a Russian bath, a sauna. He wanted to be heated like this beyond endurance and flagellated, bashed with birch twigs.
Oh, Jesus! There's ice in here! Well, that was a refreshing evening. Time to go back to Moscow. In 2 days from now, we'll take the plane to Mongolia. There the real journey will start. But before leaving Moscow, I will get the final answer to that still lingering question. Was Przewalski Stalin's father?
Nikolai Michailovitsj Przewalski, yeah?
He carries the same name as his great-grand-uncle.
Hello, we're being filmed.
And he decided to have his DNA compared with that of Stalin's grandson, Berdonsky.
Журнал «Русский Newsweek» в 2007 году организовал такую экспедицию, операцию по которой хотел проследить родство между несколькими знаменитыми фамилиями, в том числе и дворянскими.
Видно, как это происходит. Вот поковыряли.
Вот это берут слюну из щеки, это пример. И в качестве одной из таких семей они выбрали, эта экспедиция выбрала. Это внук Сталина по мужской линии, Бурдонский, режиссер театра российской армии в Москве. А это Николай Михайлович Przewalski, значит, профессор кафедры органической химии. Вот. Значит, у нас взяли эту слюну, приезжали, и потом провели анализ на ДНК, ДНК в лаборатории в Соединенных Штатах Америки. В результате этого было четко установлено, доказано, что мы принадлежим, Иосиф Сталин и Николай Przewalski принадлежат к разным гаплоидным группам. То есть они не могут быть в родстве. Про Монголию нет.
Well, that rumor is quashed for once and for all. No family ties between Stalin and Przewalski. There is one other thing they want to show us.
Это место последней стоянки отряда Przewalskiego. Вот где-то вот здесь. Мы были в этом месте. Там Китай. Это дорога наикратчайшая на Тибет.
И это место, где он погиб?
Нет, это место последней стоянки отряда, где он уже был болен. Оттуда его перевезли в Каракол, в госпиталь.
А сколько ему было, когда он умер?
Почти 50.
49
лет.
Что с ним произошло вообще? Что произошло?
Значит, точно не знает никто, но версия, что он выпил холодной сырой воды из реки, а в Киргизии зимой или летом был тиф. То есть он заразился брюшным тифом. Он умер от брюшного тифа.
И он представлял себе, что очень тяжело заболел, и отдал все необходимые распоряжения до смерти. Хотя и врачи к нему были приглашены, но они ничего не могли сделать. Тогда еще не умели лечить эту болезнь. Не было антибиотиков нынешних. Вот. А похоронен он еще в 12 километрах от этого, от Каракола, на берегу озера Иссык-Куль.
Похороните меня на берегу Иссык-Куля в экспедиционной одежде. Сфотографируйте меня с ружьем в гробу. Пожалуйста, вскрытие не делайте.
И напишите просто
путешественник Przewalski.
Это фотография путешественника Przewalskiego в гробу, как он желал, чтобы его сфотографировали вместе с его любимым ружьем Ланкастером. Наскоро одели, обули войлочные сапоги и, посадив на верблюда, пошли далее. Через 3 версты встретился ключ, на котором мы разбили свой бивак.
It's time for us to leave and finally head for Mongolia. But before that, they insist on reading us their favorite passage from Przewalski's book. I don't understand a word of it, but it doesn't matter. It sounds wonderful. The professor brings us to the airport. I will miss him. He envies us. I'm sure he would have loved to come along to the Altai Mountains of Mongolia.
Volgende week belanden we aan het eind van de wereld, Mongolië. Przewalski vond de nomaden er maar lui en smerig. Sla ze hun voortanden uit, zet ze op handen en voeten en je hebt een land vol ezels. Maar O'Hanlon krijgt er geen genoeg van. Op reis door een land zonder wegen. Op zoek naar de verschrikkelijke sneeuwman, het paard van Przewalski en het standbeeld van Stalin.